The Senate Armed Services Committee. Good to have you on New Day, Senator, as always.
Good to be with you, Chris.
So, let me hold you to account for your team in this fight. The authorization for the use of military force. We'll put up a poll if we can. 78% of the people say Congress should give the president authority to use force against ISIS. That means only 21% say no. Your own party is pushing back against its president. Why?
Well, first of all, the 2001 AUMF is still in play. So the president has all the power that he needs to do whatever to fight terrorists all over the world. So the 2002, basically, that we've talked about repealing is only the AUMF that dealt with Iraq. This new one is to deal with Syria and ISIS. So with that being said, if you're going to repeal 2001 and 2002, and let's get a direct AUMF if this is what we're going to do. I don't believe it's needed. I really don't. I believe with 2001 in place, we have the ability, the president has the ability to fight terrorists any way, any shape, any form, any place in the world.
But why resist at all? You're dealing with a new enemy. That's from 2001 when it was an entirely different war, you could argue. You could argue it isn't. But he's putting through a plan. You're in his party. He says, do this for me. And now you're holding it up.
Well, here's the thing, Chris. I've been very clear. And I've said in West Virginia, we understand the definition of insanity. Keep doing the same thing over and think you'll get a different result. That's insanity. We've been in ground wars. We've been hunkered down in occupation for 10 to 12, 13 years in Iraq and Afghanistan. I don't believe that that is the pathway to take. So I've been opposed to putting ground troops, if you will. Right. Now, the definition of ground troops is, do you put special forces, special ops, things of that sort to help us be more effective in our ground support, our air support, how we are effective and efficient.
But you know that this war ultimately, look, and I know I'm speaking out of school here, I know that this isn't officially being said, but you see what's happening on the ground. The idea that this comes to a good or beneficial conclusion from the perspective of the coalition without U.S. forces on the ground is very remote. So don't you have to just kind of grasp that reality and either move forward or not?
Well, you also have to grasp the reality, Chris, that basically, do you think it'll be any different with ground people or ground forces, the United States ground forces, there in Syria than it was in Iraq and Afghanistan? And with that being said, if they're not willing to enter the fight, if they're not willing to fight and die for their country, the Arab leagues and Arab nations around there, if the Saudis won't get involved, the Jordanians have shown they will. I heard this type of reply back from the Jordanians. Had one pilot, that horrific tragedy for that pilot, and look how they engaged. I said, wait a minute. Over 12 years, we've lost 6,600 Americans, lost their lives. Over $2.5 trillion of our treasury has been spent. The Americans have given everything we can. It's time for them to get involved. The Turks need to get involved. They all need to get involved. And basically, the only people we have willing to fight and are effective in fighting is the Kurds, the Peshmergas. They do a great job, and we should support those who want to fight and defend and secure our borders to keep them from coming here.
All right.
That's why it's important to have a Homeland Security funding bill.